Right now, something is happening that should not be possible. You are reading these words, and somewhere behind your eyes there is an experience happening. There is something it is like to be you in this moment. The words have meaning. The room around you has presence. You have a sense of existing inside a perspective that is yours and no one else's. This is so ordinary that you almost never think about it. But it is the most mysterious thing in the universe. And despite centuries of trying, nobody has come close to explaining how it happens. Here's the problem. Your brain is made of matter. Neurons firing electrical signals. Chemicals crossing synapses. Physical processes following physical laws. There is nothing in that description that should produce experience. Nothing in the movement of molecules that obviously explains why there is an inside to being you. Why the world looks like something. Why music sounds like something. Why pain hurts rather than just causing you to move away from danger. You could in principle describe every physical event that happens when you see the color red. Every neuron that fires. Every signal that travels. Every region of the brain that activates. And at the end of that description, there would still be something missing. You would have explained all the physical events, but you would not have explained why seeing red feels like anything at all. This is called the hard problem of consciousness, and it is hard for a very specific reason. It is not just difficult to solve. It may be impossible to solve using the same tools we use to solve everything else, because every other scientific problem asks how something works from the outside. Consciousness is a problem that only exists from the inside. And the inside cannot be measured with instruments or captured in equations or described by any third-person account. Light hits your eyes. Signals travel to your brain. Your brain processes the patterns and generates meaning. All of that is physical. All of that could in principle be modeled by a machine. But alongside all of that physical processing, there is something else. There is awareness. There is the sense that you are here. That this is happening to you specifically. That there is a you at all. Where does that come from? One possibility is that consciousness is something the brain generates when it becomes complex enough, the same way that life is something chemistry generates when it becomes organized enough. On this view, experience is an emergent property. It appears at a certain level of complexity and was not there at simpler levels. The brain reaches a threshold, and suddenly there is experience. But this explanation has a gap at its center. It tells you when consciousness appears, but not why it appears. You can watch complexity increase without seeing any reason why increasing complexity should produce felt experience rather than just more complex processing that runs silently in the dark. The emergent story moves the question rather than answering it. Another possibility is stranger and more unsettling. Maybe consciousness is not something the brain produces. Maybe consciousness is something more fundamental. Something that was always present in some form, and that the brain organizes and focuses rather than creates from nothing. On this view, the universe does not produce consciousness. The universe is in some sense made of it. And what we call the brain is a structure that concentrates and shapes something that was always already there. This sounds like philosophy, but it is being taken seriously by some of the sharpest minds working on the problem, because the alternative requires you to believe that at some point in the development of a brain, experience simply appears from physical processes that had no experience in them. And nobody can say where that moment is or why it should happen at all. There is a third possibility that is perhaps the most disorienting of all. Maybe the question itself is confused. Maybe asking why physical processes produce experience is like asking why water is wet. The question assumes a separation between the physical and the experiential that may not actually exist. Maybe there is no gap to explain because the physical and the experiential are not two different things. They are the same thing described from two different perspectives. From the outside, what you see is a brain processing information. From the inside, what you experience is consciousness. Same event. Two descriptions. No gap. This would mean that consciousness does not need to be explained by physical processes, because consciousness is just what physical processes look like from the inside. But even this answer leaves something unsatisfying, because it still does not tell you why there is an inside at all. Why is there a perspective? Why does the universe have a viewpoint? Why does matter ever get to look at itself? You are conscious right now. You have been for every moment of your waking life. You will be until you are not. And in all that time, you have never once had to work out how it happens because it happens by itself without effort or instruction. The most intimate fact about your existence is the one nobody can explain. You are the mystery looking at itself.